जयपुर वाया कोटा
कृपया ध्यान आपो अहमदाबाद
दिल्ली में आपका स्वागत.
Lucknow Junction.
ನಿಲ್ದಾಣದ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಹೊರಟಿರುವರೆ
Hyderabad Superfast Express পরবর্তী স্টেশন নেতাজি ভবন कृपया ध्यान दियो
We are finally going to see a smiling Gautam Gambir and Sunil Narine. I think Andre Russ, Shreyas Iyer can break into a dance. KKR are going to party all night long because the Knight Riders have won their third title, an absolutely clinical win by KKR. They have been table toppers and they've played like table toppers. They win by 8 wickets. We're back at Cricbuzz Live. I've got DK and Simon Doull in the house. This is what you call an absolutely clinical finish. Table toppers playing like table toppers.
Oh, it's been an unreal performance for them. Very, very happy for them for a start. I think it's been a tough journey. They waited a decade to get this title back. I know how hard it has been for them, being around them personally as well. Congrats to Shah Rukh Khan, Venki Mysore, who have worked their backsides off to be where they are today. What an inclusion in Gautam Gambir. Like, there are many from the support staff as well. You know, Abhishek Nair winning his first title after being around for 17 years. So there's plenty to be happy about. But I'm really happy for the team and the city of Kolkata because they, like other franchises, have a massive fan following. They come in big numbers and it's a big stadium to fill up. And they come in every time a match is played there. Couldn't be happier for them. Well done to them. And very well led by Shreyas Iyer and some good performances by every player in that squad. One that they can be proud of. And one that will resonate with them for many years to come. Winning an IPL title is not easy, Sami. I've been part of this tournament. It takes a lot. You go through an emotional roller coaster for about 6 weeks and it takes every inch of energy out of you. And to be where they are, very proud of them and very, very happy for them.
Simon, we'll have a look at that summary because they just were absolutely clinical from the word go with the ball and then with the bat in the hand. We saw the start that Starc gave them and then every bowler chipped in. And well, getting 214 in a T20 game is not the biggest deal and they made it look very simple. Of course, they lost those 2 wickets, but both the Iyers were out there finishing it off for them at the Chepauk.
Yeah, it's a demolition. It really is a demolition job and all credit to them. We talked about not getting too hard on the Sunrisers batting performance because I think KKR have just played almost the perfect game. It has been such a performance that it's a performance you dream about from a finals point of view, walking out there without the worry, without the sort of load on your shoulders, just relaxing, aramse, allow yourself to do exactly what you've been doing. And that's what they have done. They really have been simply brilliant from that opening spell of Starc right through that innings. One little blemish was Starc's catch. I think that's about the only thing we can kind of talk about. And everything else has just been simply superb. It really has. That batting performance, Venki Iyer, his form in playoff matches has been simply superb when he's had the opportunity as well. So, and, you know, we thought they might lose out a bit when Salt went.
Yes.
Cricbuzz did his job, completely did his job tonight to just ease any nerves. Once Narine went, you thought, you know, a couple of early wickets, things might change. But Cricbuzz did a great job. He wasn't flying along, but the guy at the other end was. So I just, hats off to them. Right through the season, they have looked a dominant side. 2 rainouts, of course, so only 3 losses in the entire season. As DK said, you know, I've been at this tournament since the inception of it. It is a tough, tough one to win.
Yes.
And you have to get everything right. And they played the most perfect game they could possibly play on the biggest stage.
When you play a tournament like this, you're always hoping to play that perfect game and you're hoping it comes at the right time.
Yes.
And for KKR, today was the day. And just to put into context, last cycle as well, the last year of the cycle, they got to the final, which said that they have a very good team. But then the next 2 years, they didn't get going as they would have liked. But this year, a couple of brilliant changes, good recruitments, and boy, they've made a massive difference. And KKR has been a team which has really helped its players grow. You know, not only just for IPL, but help them in domestic cricket. They have KKR Academy, which runs through the year. Abhishek Nair is at the helm, who helps a lot of these young boys, Vaibhav Arora, Harshit Ranas, Rinku Singh. There's a young boy called Saqib Mahmood. I've seen them come train, and for them to come about and go and do this, Ankush Raghuvanshi, again a name that they've handpicked and did such a good job when Nitish Rana was injured. So, well done to them. Yeah. And this is what talent ID is all about.
Yeah.
Scouting is all about. Picking the right players. Yes, you want to put big bucks on big players, but also those value for money buys and your base price buys need to be very, very good. And I think they've got most of it right. Yes, you need a little bit of luck along the way, but they've got to be really proud of their effort and the commitment they've had towards the cause of winning the title.
DK actually had this conversation with Venki sir at one point where he said that the scouting is something they really spend a lot of time on. And when Ankush was doing so well, I sent him a text and he said, we're very proud of this young boy. So we have seen so many uncapped players come and own this big stage. Even with the bowlers, we've seen it, Harshit and Vaibhav Arora. And then, of course, these youngsters. So clearly backing young talent is something which...
Just as a stat, in the last, I think, 6 to 8 years, KKR has produced the most number of players to play for India.
That says a lot.
Performances have been very good. They've reached the final. They won this tournament. They've come to a couple of playoffs. But it has produced the most number of players to play for India, which is a telling stat as to how good the scouting system has been.
And you cannot win this tournament without Indian talent.
Yes.
You think about, okay, we talk a lot about the overseas players, but there's only 4 of them on the park. 7 local players. You cannot win this tournament without your local talent doing the job. And that's been one of the big things. So you have to recruit well, you have to scout well, and you have to look after that local talent. And when I talk about Vaibhav Arora or Harshit Rana or Rinku Singh at times through the season, Venki Iyer, Ankush, who you talked about. I mean, there's so much Shreyas as well. The local talent stands out. Chakravarti. That's what stands out for me in this side in particular. You're always going to get what you get.
Yes.
Probably from Sunil and Narine, apart from the runs this year. but your local talent has such a massive part to play in winning this tournament.
These are 2 great examples. Is given Varun Chakravarti was nobody when he got picked for KKR.
Yeah.
Never played IPL before. 1 game for Punjab and then discarded. To go on to play for India representing KKR and today winning a title for them.
Yes.
Rinku Singh, he was absolutely a young rookie from UP who was probably not picked when he came in the first lot in the auction, got picked again, backed, and then had an injury. And nobody picked him again in the auction, but KKR picked him back. And then he's repaid the faith. And those are great success stories. Sometimes in all the things that happen in a tournament like this, we tend to forget the small little performances.
And lots of credit to your friend Abhishek Nair, because I'm told he's the one who goes for those
Yes,
scouting camps.
he has a good scouting system. He has a good eye for talent. That's one of his biggest skills and strength. And he's produced so many bowlers. There's plenty I could name who have come and done an impactful job. Venkatesh Iyer, for that matter, he was picked at 20 lakhs.
Yes.
When he got picked 4 years ago, and then they retained him, and today again he's repaid the faith. Had a nasty ankle injury, couldn't even walk. From there he came, he did the rehab and then went through the ranks, played for the country, and today he's come back and done well for KKR. So these are great stories. Ramandeep Singh, never picked, done well. So there's plenty of stories, and these are the stories which help you grow as a team. And even SRH, Nitish Reddy, Abdul Samad, some really lovely names, and they need to be proud of what they've done so far. Today doesn't define what they are. No.
So I'm being told that we are seeing some unbelievable visuals from the ground, because there's a smiling Sunil Narine lifting a smiling Gautam Gambir. Have we seen that before in world cricket?
I would say no. I mean, I think I've seen Gigi smile
once or twice.
Once or twice,
yes.
I think. I've seen a smile. But look, what he's obviously done and the impact he's had as well plays a big role in what's happened, I think. When you have such mentors or people come into the structure that have an aura about them, when they walk into a room, you kind of know they're there before you've seen them. And he has that sort of aura about him as a former Indian player, captain, the mana, we call it mana in New Zealand, and that's he has that mana, and so young players, international players, older players, they'll look up to him and they'll listen to him, and that's the sort of thing that makes a big difference in any franchise, in any tournament, and particularly long tournaments.
Yes.
It's a tough tournament. You're going back to back. Yes, every team gets 5, 6, 7 day break at one stage, but you're travelling so much across this vast country. You're playing back-to-back games at times, a second day, 2 days later, to keep a team atmosphere, to keep the environment in a good position, to keep the doors open The doors of communication open. All of these things come into it. You don't win these things by accident.
Yes.
Just a word on Gautam Gambir as well. What a record he's had as a coach. You know, being the mentor for LSG, 2 years on the bounce qualifying, comes to KKR and they say, please, you know, got to do something special for us. Ends up
This is
winning
what
the
he does.
trophy. He's been at the helm, taken all the decisions, be it sending Narine opening or getting Mitchell Starc in the auction, all of those big recruits and getting the right team, the balance, and then taking all the shots. I think I'm seeing news that he could be part of the Indian team as well, and I really wish he does. And he has that fire in him.
So DK, we've got a question just when you said this. I was told we have a question on this. Let's have a look at the Ask CB question. Aryan Borkar asks, Gautam Gambir has been reportedly approached to be the head coach of India. Should he leave? Do you all see Kolkata going back into a slump, or has he done enough to infuse a winning culture? Clearly, Aryan is a KKR fan there, but just the culture with which Gautam Gambir and Shreyas, we can see the bond they have. Back in 2018, when Gambir was Delhi's captain, handed it over to Shreyas. So we know they have that bond. But if he goes on to India duties, do you think he's left Shreyas with enough and more for the coming years?
Oh, 100%. I think he has really built a good team, one that will have a lot of players retained, and he has left them in a very, very good place. And if he gets the opportunity, I really wish he takes it. You know, being part of the national team and that patriotism that he has, I think he will definitely be tempted to take in. I really wish he comes in because he will infuse that winning culture he's infused here. And India would do very well under him because I feel he has that fire that is required. And when it comes to KKR, whenever he's back, they'll take him back with, open arms. But I do believe that he's left Shreyas Iyer and the team in a much better place than it was when he took it.
I'd ask that person the same or a very different question and say, if you could forego Gautam Gambir to guarantee you a World Cup win
It's a good question.
for India, would you forego Gautam Gambir? Would you say, okay, I don't mind if he leaves KKR if in the next cycle of 50 over or T20 World Cup, India win a World Cup under his coaching regime? I think that person
We
would
take
say,
it.
absolutely,
We take it,
absolutely. And that's the thing. And those are the sort of people you want at the helm. Highly respected, tough. You know, he's a tough character, but I think he's a very fair character. And and I think he'd do a great job if he was to take over, if he was to accept the role. And no matter what position you're in, whether you do what DK's done, what we do at the moment, you're always looking at higher honours, I think. You want to be, I want to be commentating World Cup finals. I want to be doing, and as a coach, you want the big jobs.
Yes.
If you don't want the big jobs, you're not in it for the right thing because they're the toughest jobs to have. And I'm with DK. I hope he does take, if he's been offered it, I hope he takes it. And I wish him all the best because I think he'd do a great job.
Well, DK, like you said, he's left Shreyas in a very comfortable place holding that trophy now. So going in next year, we've seen how Shreyas, the captain, has matured over the years. He is a very successful captain. He took Delhi to the finals and now winning it for KKR. So clearly a very successful captain. And also Shreyas coming into the IPL was in a bit of a low considering the India contract. And after all of that, he's managed to hold his nerves and do what he's done for KKR.
You got to feel very, very happy for him. I think he went through a bit of a lull post the World Cup, which was probably one of his highlights of his career. Had a phenomenal World Cup. What a tournament that was for him personally. He was one of the key players and he did really well. But post that, his back struggle again started. He was picking and choosing matches and it didn't look good optically.
Yes.
And I think people reacted a lot on what happened inside. They've never understood his side of the story. And by the time it came out, it was a bit too late. It had its own, wings to it, and it felt very different to what it was. So I feel for him, but the now is what matters. And today he has done what he's done for Kolkata. He's led from the front for captains for players who have captained a team more than 50 matches. He's the third best captain ever to have been part of this league after MS Dhoni, and that is a proud record to have. And MS Dhoni and Sachin Tendulkar, he's the third on the list, and you can see why he is so good. Just his consistency, must be making the right moves. But I also think they work well, fire and ice. Yes. I feel Gambir is that guy who pushes the team to do those tough things. And Shreyas Iyer is a lot more calmer. He's got a way of approaching things. And he has handled a lot of the boys who must be going through different mindsets at different points of time with a lot of doubts, and he's handled them really well.
Truly, we've seen Shreyas, the batter, when he came in, there was lots spoken about the strike rate, lots spoken about how he probably was the tick mark that KKR were looking for, which he did in the last game. He said that he was playing the anchor's role. So clearly he went there with that role, was not bothered by the outside noise, went there with the role that was given to him and did it very well.
Yeah, and we've talked a bit on the show about, is there room for that type of player? Well, if you're striking at 140, 135, 140, that's absolutely fine. And look at those numbers. I mean, that's not the role. That's maybe the modern day anchor, 146. But that's not the anchor that we sort of know of. The anchor that we know of might be 120, 125. But 146 is not an anchor role. That is just class. That is absolute class. And, I mean, Shreyas to me is such a pleasing batter on the eye. When you watch him in the middle, he is such a pleasing batter to watch. And some of the strokes, you look at it and you think, I mean, they're as good as anyone in the world plays. Sometimes it just takes a little longer for some players to understand and mature as far as their mindset is concerned. And what he's gone through, losing that contract, it seemed from the outside like he was not interested in playing domestic cricket. And he had his own reasons for that, which he didn't come out with until later in the piece. But sometimes you mature a little bit later in the mind as well. And along with that comes the captaincy, the responsibility, a lot of those things that have come along in the last little while in his life, they may have taken a toll on him as well, and we don't know about. So you've got to temper what you think at times and look at the overall picture. Nobody's inside his mind. Nobody's inside his life.
True.
We don't know what's going on off the field sometimes. And sometimes that has a huge role to play in every player's career, man, woman, in every career. So, you've got to temper what you think and what you say sometimes. But I'm pleased for him because I love watching him play. I love watching him bat. He is such a classical player to watch. And he will play for India many, many more times. And I think we might now start to see the best of him.
After what he's done for KKR.
Just after what he's done for KKR, what's happened prior to this tournament, he will understand more how to handle these sort of situations. And, his Indian career is by no means done. And at 29, he's still got 5, 6, 7 years left in him. So really, really happy for him.
Well, DK, they got him for 12.6 crores. So clearly they had a vision of getting a captain for the long term is what KKR was looking at. So Venki Mysore clearly had that plan in mind when they got Shreyas Iyer.
True. There were a lot of talks that he would be going to other teams, and they were talking about big prizes. The two big names which are going into that mega auction and they expected big bucks was Ishan Kishan and Shreyas Iyer. Ishan Kishan went for massive money. Shreyas Iyer comparatively slightly lesser, but by no means less. But he was earmarked as a captain for KKR, and he's done a phenomenal job. Last year he missed the IPL because of his injury, but now he's come back in and won the tournament for them. So it's been a great ending for him. One that, again, you can see, as the stats say, why he is so highly regarded by KKR and why they wanted him as a skipper. A very good record to have in a young career.
Simon, well, Pat Cummins had gotten used to picking up those trophies very far away this time, the finals, because it was so one-sided. We'll have a look at that bowling card and see why it was so one-sided. When you have a score which is, 114, there's not too much the bowlers can do, even if there is Pat Cummins captaining your side. Finally, there aren't too many runs to play with. So those 2 wickets they got, but just too one-sided.
Yeah, you have to go searching for wickets. And this game was, it was done from a batting point of view for the Hyderabad. You can't say anything about the bowling unit because they had to go searching for wickets. And it's no fault of the bowling unit. They've all had a bad day with the bat. And that's what's cost them the title. But when you look at where they have been the last 3 years, this season's still a massive success. It is a massive success. Yes. And I think the combination of Dan Vittori and Pat Cummins and their backroom staff and what they put together at the auction is a success. You must say that. Someone has to lose.
Yes.
Someone unfortunately has to lose. And you feel terrible when you walk off that park today because you have underperformed. You haven't shown anyone what you really are made of.
I mean, we know what they can do. Their power play,
we've seen it.
125 was their power play score, their highest power play score, and they've got 114 today. So we know what they can do.
We've been in these situations where you walk off and you think, oh man, we were awful today. But those days happen. They came up against an absolute juggernaut.
Also, a great lesson for a lot of the teams. These are two teams which, in this cycle of 3 years, didn't qualify in the first 2 years. And they've made personal adjustments in the third year. They've made the mini auction matter, picked the right personnel. So every auction, there is an opportunity for every team to really regroup and reassemble the lot of players to do something special in that year. Doesn't mean that if you don't get it right in the mega auction, you're going to have a bad cycle. So if you can get the right people in place, you can still make it work if you have the right intent towards how you want to play that format. And it is a great success story from both these teams who had 2 tough years, but have really made it count this year. And one has gone on to win the tournament, and one is obviously a worthy finalist. So it's a great lesson for the other teams as well, that every year matters, every year is different. And it's just a matter of a couple of personnel changes, and the attitude and the outlook of the team changes, and the way you're perceived is very, very different.
So we spoke about in the pre-match show how the top order batters have set the tone for Hyderabad. If at all next year and the mega auction, they will change things around. Do you think it will be that middle order? Too much pressure on Klaasen, you'll feel?
Massive pressure on Klaasen when the top order doesn't work. But I think when you look through the successful sides in general, 1, 2 and 3 do a bulk of the batting. And when you're 1, 2 and 3 are scoring a lot of runs, you have success. I think from Rajasthan's point of view, what we're talking about Rian Parag, he'd scored, I think, the most runs by a number 4 in the tournament history, or very close to it. That doesn't happen very often. Normally your orange cap goes to an opening batter, at worst a number 3 batter. So when they are scoring the bulk of the runs, your team is having success. Your middle order players, especially with the impact player, and I wonder whether the impact player will stay. Whether that might be something they look at and say, you know what, it's having too much of a say in the game. We might go back to not playing it next year. But with that in mind, your middle orders become more of a power middle order. So, maybe that's some area they'll look at. Markram again, another failure today, but he has such a role to play from a captaincy point of view for them in the SA T20.
Yes.
They feel like they probably have to keep a hold of him. Whereas I think Phillips could have done that job, if not better, in the situation in the last couple of games. So they'll look at it. You don't want to be doing it tonight. And you don't want to be doing it. They should still, although they feel down, they should still celebrate their season. Because it has been a very, very good season for Hyderabad. It's a tough celebration. I get it. It's going to be a hard celebration, and the first one won't taste great. But by about the third or fourth one, it'll taste a little bit better. I can guarantee you that. I've been there. It'll taste a little bit better. You reflect in a week's time. Wait till the dust has settled and reflect on it then, and then figure out, okay, start looking at what we might need to do next year. And once you know the retentions, then you get a clearer picture of what you can do.
DK, we'll have a look at the batting card for KKR. We spoke about what Venkatesh Iyer's done. Cricbuzz gave them that start when Sunil Narine got out quickly, and then Venkatesh Iyer got those 52 and 26. We spoke about it, Simon. He loves playing in the playoffs, doesn't he, DK? I think it's only Sunil Narine Suresh Raina who's got more 50s than Venkatesh Iyer at playoffs. And
he's played probably 1/10 the number of matches that Suresh Raina has played, which tells you that he's a man who's risen to the big occasion and done really well. I've been part of his career at the start, that Sharjah eliminator when he got the 26, the 55 versus Delhi, 50 versus Chennai. So, he's been really good for them. He had a tough start, when he did in a couple of seasons ago, but he's again looked good as an opener. The hunger to play for the country is there in him, which is helping him constantly push himself post-IPL, which is very, very important, goes through the whole domestic season without missing a game. So these are all massive positives. A small word of praise even for Ramanullah Cricbuzz. He's been sitting out the whole tournament to come in and replace someone like Salt and not get too overawed by the situation and still just make a play whenever the opportunity is presented itself. Good on him to do that. But I think the star of their batting was definitely Venkatesh Iyer. The way he took on Bhuvi in that over, literally finished that game and showed, literally put the foot on the throat and said, that's it, I'm not letting it go. And that's the it's just a phase of 2-3 overs and then the team gives up, the opponent, especially a low score. And that's exactly what he did. And that was good to see. And he's done that throughout this tournament. He's batted very, very well.
Simon, we've spoken about it earlier in the show, is the IPL shouldn't just be restricted towards the IPL. Indian players should be dreaming of that jersey in mind. So we've spoken about it for so many players, Venkatesh Iyer being one of them.
Yeah, and you don't want the IPL to be your goal. Your goal should always be that Indian shirt, that Indian jumper, the cap. And I hope that that's still the case. There's certain players we've talked about that I'm not sure it is the case. And that's sometimes the issue you cross, because this is not the pinnacle. This is the greatest T20 domestic tournament in the world by a stretch, by a long, long way. But the pinnacle should always be the Indian jersey, the Indian cap. And that's what you want players to strive for. And what you want, like DK mentioned earlier, that Kolkata have provided more Indian players than any other franchise. So in your setup, when you're developing players, you want to be developing players not just for you're developing Indian players, because this is the Indian Premier League. And so what you want to be developing is players who want to play at the next level. This should not be the pinnacle. And, and it might take some of these players a year or two to figure that out, because the euphoria of being picked up in an auction, it takes over. I can only imagine that it takes over a young man's mind, and that might be, wow, I've done it. I've done it for my family. And for so many of these young men, it changes their lives. It changes their families' lives. And I think Rinku Singh's a prime example. And not only does it change his family, it changes so many lives around him, because he goes back and he gives back, for what he's done for his local community. Things like that are life-changing for people. But sometimes it takes a little bit of time to realise, okay, this is not the final step.
Yes.
There's another step yet. And if I can continue to perform at this level, that next step is not too far away. And, you perform in this stage against world-class opposition.
Getting yourself ready.
You're putting yourself in the frame. You're getting yourself ready for that next step. And that should always be your goal. It should always be the aim, the target.
You spoke about Rinku and how last year he was a revolution. No one really knew about him. And this season, actually, we haven't really seen that big Rinku knock, but still KKR have lifted the trophy. So it says so much, because without one of the star players from last year really giving those fiery knocks, they're still the winners of the IPL.
I think the fact that Nitish Rana couldn't play meant that Ankush Raghuvanshi has to come at the top. So what happened? Everybody slid an order low. So Venkatesh Iyer batted a lot more through the middle, and hence Rinku Singh got very little opportunity, because when it went to the 14th over mark, Andrew Russell walked in a lot of times ahead of Rinku Singh. So overall in this tournament, he didn't get too many opportunities to bat, but he's still batting in good rhythm, and it's a good sign for Indian team because he's in the reserves. But just the fact that last year's hero, and a hero for the country literally, because he's literally set the international stage on fire as well post that. And that's exactly what Simon was talking about, aim for the sky, in looking to play for the blue shirt, playing for the country, and that's what he's done, and he's gone and done so well there. And having such a player, a player of such high caliber, and literally not using his services through the tournament and coasting through the tournament tells you what a tournament KKR have had. So well done to KKR. But I'm sure Rinku Singh is just waiting in the wings to get an opportunity to show his skills yet again.
I think down the track, I see him as a future number 4. I think he's that good a player. And some of those rescue acts that he played from an Indian point of view at the international level were clear batsmanship, like proper understanding the game.
Just not slogging.
Not slogging.
Yeah, not slogging,
he's a power
proper
player,
cricketing, yes.
but he is a proper player. And he's got power, yes, but I see him as a future number 4. I think he can really gel in innings and explode at the back end given time. But this KKR lineup is full of power. It is full of, very, very high quality players. So I think, like DK said, they just struggled to find where to fit them in and to give them enough deliveries to face at different times. So, no knock on his season at all. I mean, he would take last year's season away for a title.
I wouldn't be surprised if this year he's batted less than half the number of balls that he batted last year.
Yeah.
I don't know the stat, but I don't think it'll be too far.
Because he had the little niggle in middle, which is why he was coming in later.
Back
so
player,
it will be an interesting stat to see. But clearly KKR have had a problem of plenty, which is always a good problem to have, with everyone coming out and performing. And that one person who raised his hand up on the big day, the big gun, it's the Chepauk, and an MS finished it off well for KKR. I'm talking about Starc. He was brilliant today. He set that tone, which is why he is our Omnigel spray performer of the day. He ensured that there was no pain for fans. 3 overs, 14 runs and 2 wickets with 11 dots. We've spoken about him in the mid-match, but it's not enough, because he set that tone for them. That 114 that they had to get was because of what Starc did.
For me, he's the player of the match. I don't know who IPL is going to give it to. For me, he's the player of the match. And to be fair, the player of the playoffs too. In both the games, he got the big wickets. And it's the most important. There's obviously saying that a job well begun is half done. And that's exactly what he's done for KKR on both the occasions. Similar template. Starting the first over, gets a wicket, and that just gets the team buzzing. Bowls a great spell in both the power plays. And then the rest of it, the team follows through with the confidence and momentum that they get. He's been outstanding. Again, a massive lesson for young boys. It really is okay sometimes to fail at the start or through the middle. It's about how you finish. And that Mitchell Starc has shown how it needs to be done. Just the belief you need to, because when you're constantly seeing other performers in different games, you tend to beat down yourself a lot more than you should. Just to stay afloat, still focus on what you need to be doing and be happy for others through that journey will eventually take you to a place where you can fire when it matters the most, because the belief will be the most then. And that is what Mitchell Starc has done.
Dooley, 24.75 crores.
Yeah.
Do you see them retaining him? Do you see them maybe putting him back out, trying to get him back cheaper? But the way he's performed in the playoffs, what does one do?
Yeah, it's a tough one, because in a mega auction, you're probably not going to get that absolute high-priced player. So they might be able to buy him back cheaply or cheaper, maybe 18, 19, but I don't think he would go anywhere near under that. But in that mega auction, because every team is trying to buy a little smarter, you tend not to be able to spend quite as much. I don't know. I mean, who do they retain? And how many retentions are they allowed as far as overseas are concerned? Because they've always just locked in Russell and Narine as their overseas retentions. They've been locked. It's a tough one to break into. So I don't know. Until we know how many they're allowed and what they can do, I guess that's a question that they're going to have to answer at the auction. But he was simply superb today, and you always want best on best matchups. Abhishek, Sharma, Starc first up. You put the opposition under pressure. It just sort of gave me horrible memories of the MCG in 2015 when he ripped Brendan McCullum's bowls out of the ground. Those sorts of things when Mitch Starc gets it right. He's such a pleasure to watch, and he was
and this is something that BCCI need to look at. Because if he gets retained, he's getting nowhere close to the price that he's gone for.
Correct.
If he comes into the mega auction, he's definitely not going for the price that he's got. So I'm sure there are a lot of people around him who would probably tell, if you go back in the mini auction, you'll probably earn the same amount of money. Not same, much more than if you go in the major auction. Now, how does BCCI find a way to not allow players to use it as a loophole is something that they really need to decide. It is a tough one, but one that is worth talking about. Because let's take, and I made a video about this for Cricbuzz a few months ago when the mini auction happened. Let's take, for example, a Bumrah. Now, Bumrah is probably half the price of a lot of the players have gone for. And what is he thinking? And how do the dynamics of that change? And it's always a very, it's a strange one that only can happen in IPL because of the auction system, but one that has been a bit of a loophole for a lot of the player agents to use, where they kind of encourage the players, don't worry about the major auction, wait a year, you might end up getting a lot more than you would there. So how do they kind of find the balance is a tough one for BCCI.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, how a player like Jasprit Bumrah doesn't get what Mitch Starc earns is just astounds me. He is the best white ball bowler in the world, hands down, and how he doesn't get the same sort of money as a Mitch Starc is something beyond me. So I don't know whether there's room for a player cap, particularly from an international point of view, whether there's a cap that needs to be put on it, and then it comes down to if you played for that side originally and they're willing to bid up to the high cap, that's your team. If they're not willing to bid up to the high cap, then it goes to the next highest bidder or the next team. There's got to be some sort of way forward, but you don't want the money to get out of it because the purse is going to increase as well. Remember, in the next couple of years, the purse increases even more. So it's got to be some room, I think, for a cap of some sort. And you have to find a way to reward those that are kept a hold of because they're so valuable. Like a Mumbai are never going to let Bumrah go. He is so valuable, but yet he is earning less than the top overseas player, which doesn't, to me, seem right because he's at the very, very top end of skill sets.
Well, if there was the mid-Starc ball, which was the ball of the tournament, there was also Bumrah's ball to Sunil Narine, which was just there with what mid-Starc did. But like I said, mid-Starc gave all the KKR fans lots to smile about. He set that tone, which got KKR the third title, which is why mid-Starc was our Omni Gel Spray performer of the day. He ensured that there was no pain for the fans. Before we started, I think the pre-match show, we spoke about how the KKR bowling unit as a whole has been doing so well, and there could be 4 in that top 10 list. Let's have a look at what's happened post the match because of everyone chipping in with wickets. I think we've managed to get 5 of the bowlers in the top 15, if I'm not mistaken. So it just shows us what you've been saying it time and time again. Bowlers win you tournaments. So clearly that's what has happened.
And when you have 5 high quality bowlers, and they're not doing it one off, they're just chipping in. They're all chipping in. I mean, Dre Russ probably his best season with the ball. I go back to something I said right at the start of the tournament when I came here. I'd not seen him fitter and working harder than I did in the ILT20 at the start of the year. He was supremely fit. He's now carrying his own trainer. He's got a sort of eating program sorted. His personal trainer's with him all day, every day. He's investing in himself as an athlete by paying for that man to be alongside him all day, every day. His gym work, his fitness, it's as good as I've seen it. And he was looking trimmer and stronger. And to get through a whole season bowling, that's been the key for Andre Russell. He's put in some good performances with the bat, but to get through the whole season bowling and still bowling as well in match number 16 for them, I know they missed a couple because of rain, to be still bowling as well in match 16 as he was in match 1 is a huge thing for Kolkata and a massive part of why they've been successful. And then the young Indian bowlers, or the 2 Indian bowlers that they've used, and then Chakravarti and Narine, it's a recipe for success, that is for sure.
DK, you've been seeing Andy Russ at close quarters, especially when you all played against him. He definitely looks to have worked on his fitness and is showing on the field.
I think this is the fittest I have seen him in the last 3 seasons.
Wow.
He's been, he bowled really sharp. He has a lovely release for the slow one. He literally is the man with the golden arm there. Under pressure, when they really needed him in the middle of the innings and at the back end, he did very well for them. He was good with the bat, definitely not the best that we have seen, but with the ball, I think this has been his best year by a distance.
Because he's been bowling pretty much everywhere. He was getting used for the death overs, but then he started coming in the middle overs, so he's been pretty much used everywhere.
Yeah, and that's where Starc's presence probably made a difference as well. I mean, you look at those numbers, 21 down to 17, but that's a huge contribution right across. And we talked about Starc going for 12 or 13 in the first 4 or 5 games. So he's brought that economy rate right down. But look at Narine and Chakravarti. I mean, under 7 and just over 8 for their 2 spinners throughout the course of the tournament is exceptional. They're proper high quality numbers right throughout the bowling lineup. So yeah, it's been good. And Starc's addition has meant that Russell hasn't had to bowl at the death at the back end as much because Starc has done that job along with Vaibhav or Harshit Rana.
Well, DK, you're from Chennai. This season, do you think Bharat Arun and Varun Chakravarti have been the Thala and Thalapati for KKR this season?
I'm sure they've forged a good partnership together. Bharat Arun is very good with fast bowlers, and Varun is a very different cookie because he's a mystery spinner. He is not a very coach-driven spinner. He's self-taught a lot more. And I know for a fact that he's worked with Abhishek Nair through the season with his variations and his change of length as well with Abhishek. So I would say he's worked a lot more with Abhishek in this season. Okay. But they have Carl Crow, who's someone who's closely worked with Sunil Narine, who's been around for some time. Bharat Arun, have to say Harshit Rana. He's literally helped him grow, and Vaibhav Arora as well. With the Mitchell Starcs, it doesn't matter who the bowling coach is, they just know what to do. But with these younger bowlers, there is a massive amount of work to do. And Bharat Arun is one of the best going around in terms of technical knowledge, tactical prowess as well. So I'm sure he's a happy man as well. Had a good season as a head coach for ADKR in the ILT20 when they qualified this year. So it's been a good season for him. But one that KKR as a whole in this ecosystem, I think they'll be very, very happy.
Well, everything's going right for KKR on the field with their support staff, with Gautam Gambir. It's a lot of smiling faces for KKR. Today's game, of course, the big finale. We had a whole lot of cool moments that we've seen. So let's have a look at the carrier room air conditioner's coolest moment of the match. DK, you're supposed to just pick one cool moment that you felt. It could be a funny one, cool one. It doesn't necessarily have to be a serious one. So I'll give you that time to think about it. Simon, you go first.
Oh, I don't want to pinch his thunder. If he was thinking about Mitchell Starc's ball to Abhishek.
Yes.
To me, that set the tone. It set the tone of the day. Absolutely superb, unplayable, big name, big money, delivering on the big stage. And that set the tone for Kolkata, and they just did not look back from that moment onwards.
I thought Shreyas Iyer, the way he spun the coin at the toss was very, very cool. It was a very cool moment.
Lovely.
Spun the coin at the toss, but well, Pat Cummins, we spoke about the toss. He went to be brave, but didn't work for him today.
Yeah.
It was clearly a cool moment for you, Shreyas
The
Iyer
way he
at
spun the
toss.
coin, I don't know if you've seen the video.
No,
It's pretty cool.
Oh, okay. I'll have a look at that. Let's have a look at what your carrier room air conditioner's coolest moment of the match was. Nair on fire says you have to hit the top of off stump. Absolute peach by Starc to get rid of Abhishek, the ball of the season. I think we all agree, Nair on fire. Next up, let's see who we've got. Ankit says a top-class team performance to win the final. First the bowlers and then a fiery knock by Venki. What a cool way to lift the tournament. As a Kolkata fan, this whole match was my carrier room coolest moment. Sure was. Next up, the final tweet in is by Dark Cave. He says the planning and execution by Kolkata's bowlers on point. I think we all agree with all the tweets that have come in. Thank you so much for writing in because they've pretty much covered all the cool moments and DK's cool moment at the toss. So these were our carrier room air conditioner's coolest moment of the match. Thank you so much for writing in all season long. You'll have come up with many and very cool moments. So it's been a lot of fun. What has been a lot of fun has also been the MVP of the tournament and just watching him play. You spoke about it, 116 points away from number 2, Sunil Narine. Phew, what does one say? Who would have imagined this? And just that score, 450, and second is 315.
I was sitting at the first game that they decided to open with him, and DK mentioned earlier what Gautam's obviously done and talked to him about. And when you looked at the numbers, purely looked at the numbers, you could not imagine Sunil Narine not only going back to opening the batting, because the last 3 seasons he was averaging 4, but to bring an over 400 run season to the table, were just unheard of. And the way he did it, the clarity with which he was able to do it, it was sort of like turning back the clock. And I didn't think he had it in him. Again, I couldn't believe they were doing it. I couldn't believe they'd gone back to that at the time. And I said exactly that. But it's nice to be proven wrong. It is nice to be proven wrong because he was brilliant. He really was, and played such an enormous role in Kolkata winning the title. Not so much with the bat tonight, but with the ball. And he's offering that up game upon game, whether it's bat or ball. I mean, he only used 2 deliveries tonight. 6 and out? Thanks for coming. But yeah, look, simply brilliant and deserves all the accolades.
Well, DK, he had enough and more reason to smile, didn't he? We finally saw that smile on his face today.
He's a very cool guy. He's very cold with his emotions, very blank at times, but he's a very, very nice guy. Very humble, one that doesn't get too carried away with performance, nor does he go too low when he's not doing well. He's a very balanced man, and it's good to see people like that doing well. You need a lot more characters who are balanced going around the world, forget cricket as a sport. And he's one of those who's good and warm to be around.
You know, DK, we have you in the house, so I have to talk about the number 2 on that list, your teammate who's just been phenomenal because, we've spoken about how one can have a great IPL and then there's Virat Kohli, he comes in and does it again. He's just been fiery. He's been this Virat 2.0. His strike rate has gone up. He's answered all his critics. He's done everything. And this is exactly that fiery Virat we need for the World Cup.
Virat Kohli, well, I can write a book on how he was this year. He started okay. But I think thanks to people like Simon and a few others, it has really spurred him on. Mm-hmm. And you don't want to see that side of Virat Kohli. I think they've, in a way, I think he thrives on that. He is someone inadvertently who wants to hold on to certain things to do well. Loves proving people wrong. And even though he might not come out and say it, it really fuels his passion. And he's like a molten lava coming out. He's fiery and you don't want to be anywhere close to it because you're going to get burnt for sure because he's done this time and time again. And I genuinely feel some people don't mind him proving wrong because he's that good to watch. When he comes off, you can speak about RCB, the success and all of that. It is not happening without that man. And I'm not saying this with his batting. It's the intimidating feeling that he gives when he's on the field. The way he pushes fielders. If you ever had a mic in one of those timeouts, my God. There'll be a lot of bleeps for a start, and Ben Stokes will be mentioned a bit. But if you look past all that, the intensity that he carries and he expects each player to do well, man, I doff my hat to him. To be doing that in the 17th year of IPL, stand up and applaud the man because RCB and its fans should be grateful to have a guy like that. He is built differently, and that is what propels him. And if he does anything similar to what he's done for RCB, which he does, and even more at times for the country, but it's not easy. You know, when you need to back up a tournament like IPL, playing for India can be the toughest thing because the emotional roller coaster, it takes time for, you know, the body and the mind to settle down, but to immediately again push and go for another fast-paced tournament is not easy. And there are very few who can do it, and one among that is Virat Kohli. And that version of Virat Kohli is a special one.
Well, Simon, we want someone to whisper in his ear, don't we, as Indian fans, that he can't do it for the World Cup. That's what we want.
The thing is with Virat, and when I talk about him, I see a phenomenal player, a great player, a player who should be dominating more than what he was. And that's my point around it. And that's why I talk about his strike rate. I felt at times he was afraid to get out because he was worried about what was behind him rather than just saying, I'm so good. And he is so good. And it's the same thing I said about Baba. And I had a great chat to Baba after I talked about it in Pakistan. And he said, yeah, you know what? He said, my coach has told me the same thing. And he is such a great player. He should be dominating more. And what I loved about this year was the intent to hit the sixes.
Virat said that himself, that he was worried about what if he gets out, but he's gone past that thought, and that's what helped him.
He's too good to worry about what if he gets out. He's too good a player. And that was always my point around him. I've admired, I said 1,000 great things about Virat Kohli, but I say one thing that might be slightly negative or construed to be negative, and I get death threats. But that's what happens.
That's pretty sad in India, though.
And that's the shame of it.
It's pretty sad because you go to basketball, you go to football, and there are pundits who speak about the game. About what needs to be done. And I think somewhere the Indian diaspora, or the Indian people rather, the fans, should find out the difference between people taking him on personally and people talking about his cricketing side of things. I think Virat appreciates it if you can, find the difference.
It's never personal. It's never personal. I mean, we've had great conversations. I've interviewed him at tosses. We've talked after games. There's never been an issue. And I would never, never have a reason to have a personal issue. And I've always said how great a player he is. It's just one of those things that when I look at the game and the way the game has moved, particularly with the impact sub, it had moved. Yes. And a strike rate of 134, 35 didn't cut it anymore. So what he did this year just... absolutely, I loved the way he was more aggressive. He took the bowling on. He played the slog sweep, which we didn't see him play much at all. And he's never not going to have the fire. He's never not going to be one of the fittest blokes in the game because that's what drives him. And if sometimes, he needs some motivation, and I think DK's absolutely right. I thought about it afterwards and I thought, maybe he does thrive on it because what else has he got to thrive on? After 17 years of giving the game everything he's given, he's got to look for some things to spur him on now and then. And if I can do that from an Indian cricket point of view, then that's good. I love coming to this country. I love working in this country. And if I can spur him on in some way, shape or form, then good on him. Good on him for turning around and trying to prove people like me wrong, because it's just an opinion.
Yes.
It is. And I get paid for mine.
In fact, you should get paid double, I feel.
Well, this is the Virat we want to see at the World Cup. Virat 2.0 is who we want at the World Cup. So from the MVP of the tournament, we need to now move on to the MVP of our prediction leaderboard. I was very hopeful. I was very close, but I don't think I made the cut. It's the Hindi studio who's won. Let's have a look at that prediction leaderboard. Manoj Tiwari is up there at number 1. Closely followed by GK, then me and Dooley. You're not pretty.
That's respectable. I'm on the RCB of our game. I've sort of just managed to get into 4th place on the last day. I just managed to go above Joy. So are they still on air downstairs or not? Are they still on air?
Dooley, but you won that bullseye.
I won the bullseye.
Nice.
They're not still on air. I was going to just. Well done, Manoj. You can hear us down there, but.
Yeah. But we have a whole lot of awards that we have for our prediction game, which we're going to go through quickly. Mr. Consistent on the award list has to be Gaurav Kapoor there. He's still not smiling. He's still not smiling after the number of wins. 23 wins. Well done, GK. Very well done. Okay, next up, let's see who we have. We have Arjuna awardee here, who's got the maximum bullseyes. Why aren't you guys smiling? You're winning awards here, gentlemen.
I think in the promotional pictures they asked me to be serious.
Oh, to be serious. Okay. We'll get a thing of you smiling soon.
Okay.
Super supporter. We've got an award for someone who supported the remaining people, and it has to be Virendra Sehwag because he's always suggesting the scores to other people and making them win. You got Manisha Bullseye. Even today's GK was suggested by Viru. So there you have it. Next up, we have another Fair Play Award here. Lots of award. I give this to Lisa. She's never complained about this has been unfair and I want to cancel the game. And Lisa has been up there. 2 Aussies in a Fair Play Award there.
Yeah, that's never going to happen again.
Last and the final one, we have one more award. Let's have a look at it. Ooh, this is because the poor South Africans now, because Pommy is there as well, did not get off the mark.
Didn't get off the mark.
So they need to get off the mark and we'll be rooting. But look at them. They're smiling for not getting off the mark.
Pommy's always smiling as well. He's another one that's always smiling.
Yes. Well, let's see if we can end the IPL on a smiling note by answering Mr. Bhattacharya's question. I didn't attempt it, but let's have a look at it. Which cricketer made his international debut in the final of an ICC tournament and played his last match on the same ground around 5 years later?
His brother also played for India.
Oh, then I know. Irfan?
Was the brother.
Oh, not bad. Yusuf Pathan, debut against Pakistan 2007 T20 World Cup final. Well done, Simon. You're getting good at this. Besides Simon...
Did you know, did GK tell you he gave the answer away the other night?
Oh, he did?
Inadvertently. He had no idea. And he gave the answer away straight away. He didn't have a clue who it was.
I think Pommy did that once as well.
Yeah.
Those don't count. But let's have a look at who got the answer quickest. Akshaj Chelsea. We've spoken about this. A Chelsea fan getting that answer correct. Well done, Akshaj. Thumbs up for you because Joyda doesn't give it anymore. And it's been a long tournament. 74 games and it's ended with a third title for KKR. I couldn't have asked for better company from RCB onto the CB chair. Dinesh Karthik, thank you DK for having just joining us here for the big final and giving us all those stories. We'll be racking your brains a little more after as well and in the World Cup. And Dooley, it's always such a pleasure to be around you, to do this with you. So thank you so much. And we'll be seeing you all both hopefully for the World Cup because that's where we'll be going in no time. There's no break, no rest. We'll be there right away.
Yeah, there in about a week and a half's time. So, no, it's been fantastic. Absolutely loved it. The whole team here at Cricbuzz have been just amazing, from from the bottom floor to the top floor. They are absolutely superb. Been great working alongside you and GK and Manish, DK and everyone as well. So it's been a terrific season and well played, Kolkata.
Thank you, DK. You finished it off well for KKR this time.
Thank you. I finished it off well for myself as well, so it's been good. It's been a great season, and I've only heard good things about how well CB has done. They've reached heights which have never been touched before, so CB is growing. Happy CB, happy DK, all good.
Well, DK, the fan in me, like I said in the pre-match, is very happy to have you here. But I will really, really miss seeing you on the cricket field. But like you said, Virat Kohli said it as well, every career has an end date. We'll be spending more time together, that's the positive. But we will miss you on the cricket field. So thank you so much for giving not only RCB fans, but India fans all the joy that you've given us. It's always nice to praise someone on their face, I feel. But what someone achieves when people only speak well behind your back, I think speaks wonders of the person you are. And in my 2 years here, in just fans across the world, there is no one who says something ill about DK behind his back, especially people who know you personally. So I think that's a great achievement, more than all your cricketing achievements, which are a lot. But well done for being the human being that you are, DK. We all really, really like you here at CB, and we'll be seeing you more often.
Absolute pleasure.
And to all you KKR fans, it's time to party because now is that night which is going to go on, and you all are going to go on partying. There are going to be Shah Rukh songs that are going to be played on full blast. You all deserve it. You all have had the most sensational season from the word go. So go out there, party, dance, enjoy what you all have done. We will be seeing you all very soon for the World Cup. But that's all from everyone here at the Cricbuzz studios. Thank you to everyone, the entire team who's worked so hard behind the camera, the producers, the directors, just everyone here at Cricbuzz. And thank you so much, guys, for watching, tuning in. Every time we are here for you all. So thank you so much. We will see you all for the World Cup very soon. That's the last good night and goodbye.
Jaipur via Kota.
कृपया ध्यान आपो अहमदाबाद
दिल्ली में आपका स्वागत
ನಿಲ್ದಾಣದ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಹೊರಟಿರುವರೆ
Hyderabad Superfast Express পরবর্তী স্টেশন নেতাজি ভবন। कृपया ध्यान दें